Good? Come on, let's get a little bit of noise here. You guys doing good? All right, I can deal with this. I can work with this, guys. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to Dreamforce. How many here is their first Dreamforce? A little bit about a third of the group. Well, welcome everyone who's been here before or now. First time, welcome to Dreamforce. It's an awesome event. We actually have a really nice talk to talk to you about this time. So today we're talking about creating a mobile analytics API on the Force.com platform. And it's actually with my alma mater, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I'm alum. Each one of us up here are either students or alum there. And so first off, what we're going to talk about is the safe harbor. So you guys must have heard this multiple times. If you have not, you probably didn't go to a session. But every Salesforce talk that you'll see is talk about the safe harbor. Whatever you see here or hear should not affect or make any decisions on what you do. Just go against with what we have currently released. But of course with this, we're actually talking about everything that's already been released. And so to introduce myself, my name is Jimmy Hua. I am a senior member of technical staff here in Platform R&D, working at Salesforce. And
yeah, I'm Daniel Crawford. I'm a Cal Poly student and just recently signed on as an engineer at Salesforce.
And my name's Callie Meth, and I'm part of the master's program at Cal Poly.
And so, what are we doing here? Why are Cal Poly students and stuff doing here? So, at Cal Poly Computer Science program, we actually have a 1-year-long class called the Capstone class. And every year, they choose a company to work with. So previously, it's been Intuit, Google, etc. This year, Salesforce is actually the client for that class. And what it is, it's a 9-month, 3-quarter-long class that they work on real problems that are given to them by the company. It allows the students to work with industry, understand how to develop stuff on an industry level. So the class this year had about 25 students. There's 5 mentors, and there's actually a bunch of them are actually here outside. Could you guys raise your hands who are mentors for the Cal Poly Capstone? So there's a handful that's here, you can see them. But the biggest thing is we go there's 5 teams and each mentor had their own team of 5 students and we give them all the same challenge. And the great thing is every team built their own different implementation. So what was the challenge we gave them? Hey, mobile analytics is very important. We should see that, being able to put that into Salesforce and correlate that with the data that we have in Salesforce. So we asked them to build it. It needs to be simple for a developer to put a few lines of code and have that in their application to keep track of all the data there. And then the other thing is, we want it quick and easy and scalable. So these are the things we worked with them. And so every student has an implementation. Every team had their own implementation. And so what are the 3 things we're going to talk about today? Is 1, mobile analytics, or mobile in itself is very important. How many people here actually have a smart device or any type of mobile device? Awesome. Well, most of you guys, if you guys don't have one, there might be a slight issue here. But mobile is very important. Everyone has it in their pocket. They're all walking around. There's a lot of very important things that people do, check emails, even play a lot of video games, which I do sometimes. But the other thing is analytics. Analytics is also extremely important. In the past, we've concentrated a lot on analytics on the desktop, but the thing is right now, mobile analytics is even more important. Every business needs to be doing this. And why? Because the use case for mobile applications is much different. We're not sitting in front of here and doing this a long time. We're actually just doing one task, pulling out your phone to do something really quick. And so being able to log and collect that data is very important and even makes a lot of really good business decisions around that and understand if you need to do it or not. And then the last but not least, it's what we're doing is, feel the force. Force.com platform is a very powerful platform that we have. We've spent a lot of time on it and we want to show that we could actually do that. So those are the 3 things that are really important. And the students will take off and talk about the projects.
Cool. So when we were first given this challenge from Salesforce, our team specifically thought it was really important to have a real customer that was actually going to use the analytics that we provided. And so we reached out to a Cal Poly student that has an Android application, and it's called Zodiac Matchmaker. And so here's some screenshots from her application. How it works is you provide your astrological sign and some gender information, and then you kind of get matchmaking done. So you'll get information like your best match or your predicted future with a potential lover. And so we talked to our customer to gather some additional requirements for the project. So we asked her, what she wanted from an analytics suite, and she said she wanted something that was easy to use, that would provide her with information on who her user base was, as well as custom things that were tailored to her application. And so with these things in mind, we built an analytics suite on the Salesforce platform.
Yeah, so the first problem that we wanted to tackle was how do we collect the metrics on a mobile device? Hallie mentioned we paired up with an Android developer, so we wanted an Android SDK to collect metrics. So we did some market research into what existed, and I don't know if you've heard of them, but there's companies like Localytics and Flurry that offer solutions for this already. And we got a lot of inspiration from those. One thing that we noticed is that they all provided a general set of demographic data, so where your users are from, what language they speak, things like that. And they also allowed app developers to create custom data about their application, their specific thing, and tailor it towards their app. And that's exactly what our customer is looking for. So we drew a lot of inspiration from Localytics particularly, and we also really want to provide a simple API. So we're going to go ahead and show you, if I can get the right screen, the Android API that we exposed to our application developers so that they can integrate this with their app, and we tried to aim for a less than 10-minute integration. So the first method that we provide is called open. You use this to open a session or mark when the user first starts using your app. So typically you would do this when the app launches. Similarly, there's a close method, and you do this when the app closes to mark the end of the session. Now we get to the custom information. It's a very simple method, but we call it tag event, and you just pass a string in. And you can tag custom events like button A was clicked. And we have a similar thing for tag screens. Screens and events are a little different because screens are how users are flowing through your application. So with just these simple methods, we can provide really powerful analytics. And we'll show you a demo application that integrates with this API. So you'll notice in the onCreate method, in Android, this is what launches the application, or what happens when the application is launched. So we create a new Localytics session, and we just call it open to mark the start of the session. And we tag the fact that they're on screen 1. Then we have event handling code down here. This can happen any time. Button A was clicked, button B was clicked, or any other event that happens in the application. And at the bottom, we have the on-pause method. This is what Android uses to close the app. So we call close on our session to mark the end, and then we upload. So when you upload the data, you take all the data that was on the device, and we have to some way send it over to force.com. So we turn it into JSON to send it to our web service. This is just some simple example of some of that JSON or what it would look like. The first thing in the JSON object is a session list. This will be a list of all the sessions that have happened in the app since the last upload. So it's things like the user ID, the device they were using, the country they're in. This is that general set of demographic data that's collected automatically without the application developer having to query it. The other thing that we provide, or that we send over, is an action list. And this is a list of all the actions that happened in those sessions. And they're tied back to the session with IDs in those objects. So all that information is sent over to our Apex REST service. We mentioned we do this all on force.com. And because of the power of force.com, we can just send that JSON over and it automatically gets demarshalled into custom S objects for us. We don't have to do any converting or building objects. And you'll see we just get a list of sessions and some actions. And because it's already built for us, we can just go ahead and insert the sessions. We do a little bit of logic just to check if sessions were uploaded over multiple uploads because of large data amounts, things like that. We'll merge them together. And then we insert actions. Very simple code to get the data to force.com. So I talked just about the SDK that we use to collect the data on Android and how we send that data over to force.com, and a little bit about the S objects that we use to store it there. Now Hallie's going to talk to you a little bit more about the rest of our architecture.
Cool. So as Daniel just mentioned, we have a lot of raw data that's coming directly from the application onto force.com. However, with all this raw data, depending on the size of your application, you can quickly hit the storage limits. And so our user, she actually has over 100,000 downloads and over 13,000 active users. So all this data was quickly reaching the limit. And then every time we tried to access it, we were hitting query limits on going through all the data to find useful information. And so at this point, we realized we needed a solution for scalability. And our solution is called the Sweeper. And what we do is we run a batch Apex job every night that sums up everything that happened in a day and stores it in kind of a summary object that is a consolidated view of the data. And this enables us to delete the raw data in order to save space. And so all this data stored in the Sweeper is just kind of your view of what happened in the app over every day or every month. And we access this data through a set of web services, which are predefined queries that go directly to the analytic information. We then use the web services to power a dashboard and also expose the web services so that developers can create their own dashboards. So now we're going to look at what the objects actually look like that we store our data in. So here in the top, there are the sessions S object and the actions S object, and this is where we store all of the raw data. And so, like Daniel mentioned, every single time a user uses the application that's going to be analyzed, a session object is created, and this is all of the data about the user, so where they're from, what Android device they're using, etc. And then this has one or more actions connected to it, so like 100, as many as the developer wanted to tag, all that information is stored with the session, and that adds up really quickly. And so now we're going to look at the sweeper objects, or how we consolidate the data into a summary. And so we have two different types of sweepers. We have a daily sweeper, which represents everything that happened in the application in a single day. And those are stored for the past 60 days. And then after that point, we do retain the information in a monthly summary, but no longer do the day-to-day granularity because that also takes up a lot of space. And so over here we have the BG app version sessions and LG new sessions. And these are examples of two of our daily summary objects. How it works is it's basically a circular queue of information on the past 60 days. And once data expires past that period, it'll get evicted and new data can overwrite it. And then on the right, we have an example of our monthly summary objects, and there'll be one entry per month per application of just a total of what happened in that month. Cool. So now we're going to take a look at some of the code that does this aggregation for us. Here's an example of one of our batch jobs that is the sweeper. And how it works is every day we'll get a lot of the raw data back for an application, and each application has a unique key with it. And so we associate a set of sweepers with that application key. And so at the start of the batch job, we look in our force.com database for existing sweepers to pull out the ones that we're going to update with the new data. And then once we have the sweeper, if there's not one, we'll create one at this time. And then we will go through all of the raw data, do our summations for our analytics, and store them in the corresponding sweeper. And so this was just an example of one of the daily sweepers. We have a chain of these that run. All of them are batch jobs. And then when the entire chain is done, we've aggregated all of our data and stored it. Then we can delete the raw data to free up that space. And an important thing to note is with this solution, our consolidated sweeper view actually got over 99% reduction based on the raw data. Yeah. Cool. And so here is an example of the web service. Again, the web service is just the queries that we use to access the data. And an important thing to note in here is that every time you make a query, you're going to choose a date range, like which range you want to analyze. And so in our web service, we will check whether or not the current range is within the past 60 days. And if it is, we're going to be creating those daily summary objects. Otherwise, we want to get the monthly data back. And all of the web services will just return lists of the date range that you're analyzing, and then the list of data that corresponds with each range. Cool. And so now Daniel is going to show you how we use our web services to power our dashboard.
Yeah. So this is one of the graphs on our web dashboard. As Helly mentioned, our dashboards are very thin because the whole logic is in our web services that access the data for us. So this is just one example. We do have a mobile version that we can show you after the session if you're interested. So we talked about two different types of data. Demographic data that's universal to all apps, and then the custom information that app developers can specify for their application. The usage menu will show you all the demographic information. So this is the sessions graph. It's a very simple one, and as you can see, it's just showing you the count of users over time. So since we're looking at all time here, we're getting those monthly summaries we talked about, where in August we had just shy of 18,000 sessions occurring for the application. If we want to look at more detailed data, we can pick something within the last 60 days, so like the month of November, and reload the chart. And you'll see daily information, and that way you can, this is really useful if you like roll out a new feature and you want to see how it affected the use of your application, popularity of it. Engagement and retention are two very important things in mobile applications. You want to make sure your users aren't downloading your app and using it once and throwing it away. So we provide a graph called new versus returning users. The red line you see here is the number of returning users that you have. So they've used the app more than once and they're coming back. The blue line is new users. So those are potential new users that you can attract and turn them into returning users. So I mentioned engagement is also important. You want people to be engaged with your application and not just browsing you for a few seconds and throwing it away. So this shows you some time ranges of how much time people are spending within your application. So most app developers are looking for something above 1 minute. 1 to 3 is pretty popular for this application. The country graph is pretty cool because it showed our customer that she had a lot of users in the US, but she didn't know she had users in Great Britain, Canada, and even China. And she can use that information now to localize her app and target it towards markets that are showing demand for it. So that concludes some of the demographic information that we collect. And now we're going to show you the custom event information for applications. So this is a very simple one. It's just all the different events that the application developer was interested in and wanted to tag, and it's just a count of them. Our customer introduced a Facebook feature, as you can see on the far right, and she wanted to know if that was a popular feature and if her users were using it. Turns out, not so much. But that's good information for her to know. You can also click on any of these bars and get a day-to-day breakdown of how often those events are happening. So it's just a little more fine-grained control. The custom data also powers funnels, and this is a really insightful tool where the app developer or anyone else can define these predefined sequences of events that happen within an application. So I want to know if my user is going from point A to point B to point C, and I can see where they're falling off there and maybe adjust my app for usability to make them actually complete that sequence. Screens is also driven by that custom data, and this shows where users are going from your homepage. So you'll see 18% of users go to the best match page, and from there, 3% go to the child list page. This lets you see how users are getting around your application and if there's any usability problems there, or it just shows you the popular flows so that you can put ads in popular places. So that concludes a majority of our web dashboard, and I'll hand it back to Jimmy now.
So as you guys can see, they did a lot. They did this in 3 quarters. 9 months, a team of 5. And as you see, this is just one of the 5 teams. So if you're interested, there's actually a link that we'll show a little bit later, and we'll post onto Chatter, where you can actually see the other team stuff, and you can actually download and use their application that they built. But back to the story is, there's 3 points we wanted to make sure we got on this. One is mobile. Mobile is extremely, extremely important nowadays with the way of data and integration. So people are moving really fast, trying to get information and knowledge as fast as possible. Second thing is mobile analytics. Analytics is very important. It's even more important on mobile. As you could see with the way they did the funnels, checking out the screens, you could actually literally make great decisions on how you want to develop the application. If you're noticing a page that not many users go to, or in order for them to hit that page, they make this weird roundabout, you can make decisions that make a much, much better user experience. And the third thing is, this is all done using the Force.com platform. We did UI on Visualforce, they did Apex, they did Sophos, they stored it in Salesforce. Salesforce is a very powerful platform that you could use, and it's all possible right there. So, and the next slide, we're going to actually...
Yeah, I don't think it's up there, Jimmy. There it is.
Oh, there it is. So, we have a few prizes right here to give out. First person is, and you're not eligible. Where is Cal Poly from? I saw his in... Where? San Luis Obispo. So, you have a cup? So there's a part that we talked about, and it's about the whole scalability issue and such like that. So they were talking a lot about this. There's a piece in the architecture that they named something to handle the scalability with the data. Who actually knows that answer? We actually have a t-shirt for you. Sweeper, that's correct. We have a large and a medium. And we actually have a third shirt, but we do not have a third question. So that's going to be kind of interesting. So let me think. Actually, who wants a medium shirt? Right there. All right, so you can actually get our contact information will eventually show up there on the screen. You are welcome to email us if you have any questions. We'll actually be on the site here right after the session, so you can continue and talk to us. If you have any questions, we can actually show you the demo on the phone. And there's also the URL right here. So at the bottom one, this is the GitHub. That's specifically the GitHub for this team's code. Yeah, you can download, play around, modify, do what you want. There's also the link right above that, which is actually the splash page for the Cal Poly Capstone class. There's 5 teams there with all their code, their documentation, and you should be able to start right off within 10 minutes in getting things working. So those are the information there you can have. Does anyone have any questions for the students or I? We're going to have a mic.
What framework did you use to do that for graphing visualization?
The graphing? Yeah, that was a JavaScript library called PyCharts.
Any other questions? You can ask us anything. We might not be able to answer everything though. All right, well, I guess we'll call that's it. If you guys want to see the demo in person on the mobile device or on the tablet, or have any questions that you guys want to ask us, feel free to come up and talk to us. We'll be out here on the side. All right, thank you very much.